All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talia Talks. Today, I have two really special guests from the Conscious Experience podcast. I could go on and on about the amazing things that they talk about and the awesome things that they do, but I'm going to go ahead and let them each introduce themselves and tell the audience, you guys, a little bit about themselves. So, in no particular order.
Well, I'll take front stage. I'm the host. I go by the name of Torrez Nesbit. And wow, this is kind of weird because usually I'll have like my own spiel on. See, it feels like I'm on my own podcast right now, but I got to change up the format. I'm a Southern boy. I grew up in Mississippi. Most of my adolescent years I spent in Michigan, and then I came down to Florida. My mom ended up getting lupus cancer, and I wanted to support her. She wanted to move closer to family in Florida, so I ended up moving with her. And then we went. I decided that I want to go to a college, so FAU kind of fitted me the best, and I made so many connections down there. And in between that, I had a lot of just internal dialogue with myself. I end up doing a lot of psychedelics. I end up from that point on just kind of figure out, okay, like with this life right now, I want to do things that I enjoy and that's going to make my life exponentially better. So I end up doing jujitsu, having great success in that. I'm two-time IBJJF champion. And then I linked up with my boy Brian. That's my brother, my right hand man, and we formed a podcast called The Conscious Experience. Check that out. You know what I'm saying? And right now, I'm in the midst of starting my real estate adventure. I just created my business, BT Generations LLC. I'm the CEO of that. And my dream is to be obviously financially free uh, through investing through real estate. But the end goal is to give back to the community. What I really want to do is supply, if not free housing, very cheap housing to low income areas, most specifically single parent households. That's how I grew up. And so, I want to supply that cheap housing to them so the parents, the single parents, can reallocate the extra resources to the kids. So that's my dream right there, and that's me in a nutshell. Bam.
Love that. Love that.
And that's gonna be hard to top. Pretty much, I am the co-host of the Conscious Experience. My name is Bryan Dunlap. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. Born and raised. Out of high school, went to Florida A&M to play football on a football. I basically fell in love with football, and in that endeavor, I ended up transferring to FAU. And in that point, I was kind of like reinventing myself, and I was getting into learning about stocks and investing. And it was probably about 2016, the year that I transferred, that I got into Forex, started learning about cryptocurrencies. And so in 2017, it blew up, learned a lot, and really just started to try to focus on developing my mind and just learn as much as I could. And, kind of the way I envision it is if I could, if I could like make my life more so how Rob Deerdeck did in like Fantasy Factory, just like goes from endeavor, do different types of things and just keep trying to like flip and capitalize my money and things like that and spark other people's minds and just try to be that spark that ignites somebody else's flame. And yeah.
Nice, nice. I love to see the progression, Black excellence. I love it here. So you two are seem pretty good friends. The chemistry is there, the collaboration, it works. I just had a conversation with you guys, and obviously the energy is there. So how did you guys meet? Like, how did the idea of the podcast come together? Like, what was that like? What was that experience like?
Want to take that B or want me to get it?
Yeah, I would say so. It was like Bree and Jade's like I guess like plan to make us friends. I think we met over like brunch or something like or like a Taco Tuesday. They introduced us, and it was cool. And then I was ended up teaching him about Forex. I want to say maybe like before class, so he come over maybe like 6 in the morning, and at my house I had
Five.
like oh yeah,
5
oh
in
yeah.
the morning.
I'm saying. And I had like an office table with like office chairs or whatever, and I had like a whiteboard, and we just like talked, and it just came down to the point where like, you know what, we should have a podcast, and we just made it happen, honestly.
Yeah, and to kind of backtrack a little bit, first of all, Natalia, I just want to say thank you for having us on your show. It's an absolute pleasure. Like I said before, like you being a content creator, like I know what it takes to put in, the work that you have to put in, and the fact that you're this consistent, the fact that you keep putting out, quality content really shows a testament of, who you are on a personal level. So keep doing your work, Queen.
Thank
And
you.
then just to go back on Brian, like, yeah, bro, like there was a point in time in college where I was really lost on who I was. And I was like going into my junior year. I did not know who I was. And I was driven in a life of fear and doubt. And so through the grace of God, I ended up meeting my now fiance, but then girlfriend, Brianna, and she really enhanced my life. But what came out of that was me meeting like really amazing people like Brian. And with that being said, him and Brianna and Jay, they're very good friends. They like met together, and then I think it was like New Year's when I met Brian for the first time, and we just kicked it off. And I was picking his brain, and very smart, very intelligent, very articulate. So I was like, bro, let me kick it with this guy because it seems like his head is on the swivel, his head's in the right place. So he began to like say things like, yeah, bro, I made like $1,000 in like 2 days. What I'm saying, like I made $3,000 this month. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? He was like, yo, I do forex, like I exchange or I do like trading with currencies. So I was like, yo, that sounds dope. So I end up like meeting him, and I would get up at like 4:30 in the morning, drive to his place. He lived like 15-20 minutes away, and I literally did that for like a month or so. He was teaching me the ins and out of forex, and I was like, man, I know that I'm disciplined. I know if I'm into something, I have laser focus. But the fact that this guy is waking up, what I'm saying, teaching me this stuff, it really shows me like his character. So we began to do this, and forex fell out for me because, let's just be honest, it wasn't interesting to me. I'll be transparent, but I but I eventually found for myself what interested me, which is real estate. But going back to the story, we began to have like really insightful conversations, and I was like, yo, why don't we just start recording this? And that's where the conscious experience was birthed.
Nice, nice. And who came up with the name?
Was it both? Didn't we both come up with it, right? Or did you come? I don't know how it came up. All right, so like Joe Rogan had like the Joe Rogan experience.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you kind of get where it's going. Like he's like the godfather of podcasting. Like he's the GOAT. He's like the Michael Jordan and LeBron James of podcasting. And the type of talk that he was inciting on his platform, just like the free form, the consciousness that was coming with it. I think me and Brian like got inspired by his work and kind of flipped it and turned it to our own thing. So I think part of the experience that came from Joe Rogan, but I think if not, Brian came up with it. We kind of collabed on it, but there was several names.
Yeah, like I'm looking. I think I actually might have the damn the text history or whatever. I'm seeing like brainstorming names, and it was like that's the one.
Yeah. No, I love that. I definitely think the name is super dope because I definitely feel like that when you leave, when you leave, like it's a physical place, but when you when you're done listening, you're gonna leave with something new. You're gonna learn something from it. So I think that's super dope. What has been the most rewarding thing about having your own podcast? What would you say is the most rewarding thing?
You know, for me, it's the ability to connect with so many interesting people. And I know that you can relate to this, Natalia, because you do so as well. But we've met people like Delano. He's going to be fighting in the UFC next year. And you know, I've done Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and I know what a good fighter looks like. And this guy legit probably will be, if not a UFC champion, a top contender in the UFC. That's one of the biggest fight. That is the biggest fight leagues in the world. Then we had guys like Spicy John, which you know he's one of the hardest entrepreneurs that I ever met. He has a real successful brand called Spicy Wear. And then so it's like it's so many interesting people that you meet, but one thing in common that you know I've found in all these people is their work ethic and their discipline. So like to bring it all back, I like it's just like the people that you meet, man. It's like like each episode I have with these guests, I get better. Like I kind of like take something, a good trait from them, and I put it into myself, and I get better. So for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, for me, it's one is creating, and then just having nuanced conversations with um the next generation, like our generation, like unfiltered, just off the cuff, just having real conversations and just kind of like taking a snapshot of that time, like even this episode, like we look back at it maybe 5 years from now, even a couple months from now, you know what I mean? And it's just like reflecting on the moment, and just seeing where we grow from here and there, and just like each of us on our journey through life, just like, oh yeah, I remember that point in time, look where we are now, vice versa, and just making like connections.
Definitely. I can definitely agree with everything that you guys said. It's definitely interesting. Sorry. Have there been any hiccups or obstacles to overcome along the way?
Yes. I'm more on the side of like editing and putting the stuff together. So there's a lot of hookups with that. I mean, just starting a podcast, like these mics right here, like the studio setup. I mean, it took months and months on end to get to the final product. And I'm still not at the final product. I'm always on a weekly basis adding things here, you know, taking things out. So it's just like it's the muse, like Kobe Bryant said, it's the muse. And right now I'm in the zone, you know what I'm saying? And it's just one of those things that is always going to be hiccups, it's always going to be hurdles. I can't really point one out, but for sure, whenever you do something, whenever you're passionate about it, you're always going to have those hookups and hurdles. But you know, if you're passionate about it, you don't see it like that. You know, you
Yeah.
just carry it through. I hope I answered your question. I'm going off, but
No, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the hardest part, I mean, because I mean, he honestly, he like as far as like the technicalities and the audio and everything like that, I feel like he carries like the heavy lifting. All I gotta do in my head, I just gotta show up and just make sure that I'm on point. Just make sure that I don't drop the ball in what I do. Other than that, just kind of really just rolling with the punches, honestly. You know, there's no such thing as perfection. It's just progress. And so just keep rolling along and just making sure it works. I mean, seeing obstacles as opportunities. And so like for one, like we've been doing the podcast um, virtually almost since like the third episode. Cause like I moved to Texas maybe like damn near 2 years ago. And we had like preloaded episodes when we were in the same spot. And so when we finally launched the podcast, I was already like not there. But luckily, or not, I wouldn't say luckily, but like it ended up being perfect because like COVID hit out of nowhere and nobody saw that coming. So we were already ahead of that wave
Mm.
of doing, Scott or like Zoom in and like doing like episodes like that. So yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of that, has COVID affected the way you guys operate in any way? Like just the pandemic, you guys have guests on your show, like different things like that, like different dynamics that come with your podcast.
yeah, for sure. In a way where like I know that people that I want to have on are kind of hesitant now, because and me as well. You know what I'm saying? I have my sister's here. She's high risk. She has asthma. You know what I'm saying? And my fiance's here. Like, I don't want to put my girls at risk. You get what I'm saying? And so yeah, it's kind of like slowed down like the guest that's coming, because like literally every week I want to have a new guest or whatever, but we kind of been rocking it solo dolo, and mixing in guests here and there, especially if they're getting tested and stuff like that. I would say from that point it kind of has affected us in that way. But as far as with the just putting content out and the consistency, it will never affect that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we'll adapt just like how you're adapting virtual calling and stuff like that. We do that as well. So for sure. But as far as like having people in house, that's kind of slowed that down a little bit.
Mm. Brian, did you have anything to add, or you pretty much
Oh,
covered
my bad.
it?
I'm almost at that text where I'm getting to the names, but um honestly, I don't for me, I don't think so. I mean, well, as far as the guests, yeah, potentially just like scheduling, having to reschedule, um, and well, I'll say as far as like in-person guests, but as far as like the things that we can't control, no.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Do you guys have a favorite moment or a favorite guest that you had on?
I'll let you answer that one, Lap.
Uh, Favorite.
That's a great question, by the way. That's a great question.
Yeah, it is. We've had so many. Um, I'll say one that was dope for me was episode. I don't know. It could have been like, I'm not even gonna try to guess the number episode it was. I don't know. But damn, I mean that's a hard one. But I'll say it was with Apollo, just because of how it all came together and just like the hiccups of it. Because I knew him for like since 2017, just through like forex and crypto and stuff like that. But we never like met. And so when I hit him up about being a guest on the podcast, he lives in the Bay Area, so he ended up just like saying, "Yeah, bro," and he flew out to Dallas, and we made it happen. And then one of the hiccups was that like some reason like I wasn't able to get Torrez on because like the connection or just like there's like a lot of interference. And so that was like my first like solo podcast without him as well. So I was like, oh shit. And then also what's just funny is that just meeting like his whole crew at the time, because like unbeknownst to me, they didn't even plan to it, but like funny story I told Torrez afterwards is that like they just got done with like a shroom trip. It's like he was wearing like a shroom shirt. Like I said, ran into somebody in the hallway, and the dude was like, "Hey, I like your shirt." And then that's how that happened. And then yeah, so that's why for a minute, yeah. So it was just an interesting ass day. So I just chilled with them after the podcast, and it was just like a cool experience.
Yeah, I'm gonna be corny, real quick. Like I guess the episode that stood out to me, like my favorite, is the one with my fiance. I'm just such a huge fan of her, and it's just like, any opportunity, I can have a conversation with her. It's just like, what I'm saying, it's dope, and the fact that we it just flows so effortless. You talk about chemistry, like me and Brian, like me and her chemistry is crazy. So I feel like that episode stands out the most to me. The one with Bree, check that one out. It's called the I don't remember. We've done so many episodes, but it's with Bree. It's featuring Bree. So check that one out. And I will also say this. I know I'm cheating a little bit, but I also like the one with Spicy John as well. That I feel like that one is what really kicked off the podcast. Like I said, he's someone that I admire from afar because like his work ethic is literally unmatched. He's so consistent and his brand is so on point. And he was just dropping jewels the whole podcast. So for sure.
Nice, nice. Speaking of memorable things and just things that stick out to you, um, what are your who or what are your inspirations in life and why?
All right. Uh, First is my mother, my mom. Just her resilience. I mean, her mental toughness is something I've never seen. You know, she's the most mentally strongest human being I've ever come in contact with. Malcolm X, obviously because of his philosophies, I really do feel like the Black community um, would really benefit if we reallocate our dollars, if we reallocate our politics, if we reallocate our power and put all our focus in the Black community and build our women up, build our kids up, and protect everybody as as Black men. And my third one would be uh, Ken McElroy. I know not probably no one knows who this is, but he is a advisor of Robert Kiyosaki. Robert Kiyosaki is a multimillionaire, a real estate investor, upon many other things. But he is the advisor of Robert Kiyosaki, Ken McElroy, and he's also a multi-million dollar real estate investor. And obviously, me going into real estate, he's someone that I'm a student of, and he has taught me so many um, things that's going to help me set up my financial freedom in the near future. So those are like the three people that are coming to my mind right now for sure.
Nice, nice.
Uh, for me, I would say I'll start off by saying I'll say the males in my life. I would say one would be my father. One would be my uncle that passed away. My grandfather. Just I feel like I grew up with strong male figures in my life that helped me be the man I am today, and just see them as a reference and just what it should look like to be a father and all that. And a couple other people, I mean, I feel like I learn from everybody that I interact with. Like they say, you can only understand the world as much as you understand yourself. And so at certain points, we're kind of just reflections of each other at different, I guess, states. And definitely, I'll probably just say, I mean, it'd be too many people to name, but
Mhm.
just people that are really trying to be the best they can be, be their highest self. I'm motivated every day by that alone, and just like my timeline is people that find a way to make it happen. There are people that we all have the same 24 hours, and they are willing to execute, and they have everything against them, maybe the odds stack against them, but they end up pulling through and making it a part of their story and not an excuse. So yeah.
Definitely, definitely. I agree with that sentiment. I feel like it's possible to draw inspiration from anything and everything these days. So I've listened to not all of your episodes, but definitely a few of them. And
Oh man. And I was joking.
if I had enough time to play catch up, I would. And maybe one day I might, but no promises. But what I did realize is that going through the episodes, I was like, yo, there is nothing these guys are afraid to talk about. There are taboo topics, there are regular topics, there's politics, there's sports, there's everything on there. So like, are there any limitations when it comes to what you guys will and won't discuss?
No, that's the ace factor of the conscious experience, if you will. You know what I'm saying? There's no boundaries. Like literally, I want to talk about the LGBTQA plus community. Plus, I want to talk about pedophiles infiltrating the government. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how broad we get. You know what I'm saying? And it's just one of those things where this is the beauty of having a podcast. You can talk about whatever you want and no one can say anything, you know what I'm saying? And the thing with us is here at the Conscious Experience, we really try to research on the topics that we are talking speaking on. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I know if I listen to episode 3, I'm gonna probably melt because you know what I'm saying, it's just, you know, we it was the beginning, but you know, we're at episode 58, and you know, at episode 10,000, we're gonna be, you know, 10,000 times better than what we are right now. But it's one of those things where there's no limitations, and wherever our guests want to take it, you know, wherever me and Brian are feeling that day, we're gonna take it. You know.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really about anything. I don't see why not. You know, it's like, you know, it's not really, the goal isn't to agree with with everything, but you at least gotta hear it out. You know, that's the whole point of free speech. Um, it's just about trying to, if not, you know, if not, it's really more so about understanding, I feel. And I feel like everybody is coming from the aspect of like guarded, right? Like, say, for example, at work, obviously you're not going to say everything how you feel because there's kind of like politics and just, you know, taboos involved where you kind of, there's always something that can be taken or there's always something that can be gained. So there's
Right.
really never going to be that, you know, understanding to try to really, you know, there's no like transparency really, you know. So when we're outside of that, people tend to like take that type of mentality with them. So it's always going to be a verse you versus me, you know what I'm saying? And so I feel like just letting people talk and discuss things is how things really get, you know, um, settled and just, you know, peace. I won't say peace, but it's more so of just like everybody understands where everybody stands. There's no um, miscommunication or, you know, nobody can try to manipulate what somebody said in a sound bite or this and that, you know, hearing their truth. That's all.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
unless Torrez edits what someone says, but I'm sure he doesn't do any of that. Uh, I know that your show obviously includes discourse and talking about different things, and you obviously select who you want to be on there. But between the two of you, do you guys ever disagree?
Fuck yes. But that, you know, it's that's healthy though. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Like, wouldn't the conscious experience be boring if Brian just agreed with everything I said and vice versa? Like, it'd be like
Yeah.
some yes man shit. You know what I'm saying? We definitely do have our times where we're, you know, where we disagree, but that just adds value to the conversation. You know, it adds two different perspectives because the way I see it is, I mean, some listeners might agree with me, but then other listeners agreeing with Brian. And then hopefully we can kind of mend that conversation together where there's like a cohesive like agreement amongst both of us or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's always gonna be disagreements, and but Brian and our relationship um, is tight enough, and we're tight enough to realize that, you know, that's not going to do anything to our personal relationship or anything. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So we have reached the last question.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah, it went by quick. That's what happens when you're having fun, they say. So funny. What does the future look like for the conscious experience, and where do you see yourselves in the next 5 years? And not that question is obviously super loaded and it's
Right.
super like interviewee robotic, but I just mean it as like more so as a guide as to like what does your vision look like, and if 5 years helps you, see that clearer, then we'll go with 5 years.
Right. Well, Miss, I'm gonna say this right here. You know, my life is is centered on legacy, and like I told you in the beginning of the show, like a part of my legacy is to supply that free or cheap housing to these low income single parent households. Another part of that is putting good frequencies, good conversations out there. And hopefully, you know, the conversations that we do have on the conscious experience can just influence somebody to do something good or spark someone's, good intuition. As long as it does that, then you know what I'm saying. Like I could sit back and chill. You know what I'm saying. I really just want to impact the world in a positive way. I feel like I've been put on this world to be a positive force, to be a positive human being, and I just want to, you know, be able to just give out good energy and give out high vibrational energy out into the universe, and have people, you know, receive that, and then they can take themselves to the next level. You know what I'm saying? Just, yeah, just good energy.
Definitely. So,
Sure. And my, repeat the question.
what does the future look like for the concert experience, and where do you see yourselves in the next 5 years? So, what does the vision of where you see yourself look like?
Really, I feel like like the sky's the limit. Honestly, I mean, this year, Torrez is moving out to Dallas, so it's going to be in house. So I mean, it's a lot of opportunity in that. Dallas, Texas in itself this year, due to the pandemic and everything that's been going on, is now like a hub for creatives, and like there's hella future potential guests that live here. You got Joe Rogan that's in Austin, Texas now. That's not too far away from Dallas. You got Elon Musk potentially moving to Texas. There's just hella people like um, that are around this area, and just the fact that Texas is in the middle of the country, so it's almost like a middle destination for anything. And just as the podcast grows, it's really just another avenue. So like, for example, like with each of our brands, whether it's me like trading crypto, anything like that, and Torrez with real estate, Instagram, all that, like those are like visual aspects of what we have going on. So you can only really see the results. This right here is the audio version, so you can really get to know us and how we think and just our personalities. So I feel like it only helps our audience, learn who we are. So in that aspect, 5 years from now, I mean, well, really, I really can't even like gauge it, because things happen so like just like exponentially. Just be like a little snowball effects.
Right.
I'll just say, this year, I kind of just plan everything like quarter to quarter,
Right.
and just execution on like the smallest scale to get to the final result. So I'll say by the end of this year, I mean, I'll say that, the numbers will probably double, triple,
Yeah.
and just gotta keep on scaling it up, probably um, have like merchandise, things like that. And yeah, really just monetize. I thought at the end of the year, we should have it like monetized
Right.
pretty well.
Right. And I want to just end it off on this. Shout out to all the conscious viewers. We love you guys, but like, you guys have shown so much love, and it's weird. Like when you create something and you see it grow, it's like your own little baby. And like you said, it's like a snowball. It's a snowball going down the mountain. But what happens to that snowball is it gains momentum and it gets bigger. It gets bigger and bigger. And that's the process that we're going through right now. You know what I'm saying? We almost got over 3,000 downloads. We have a real strong core following in this short amount of time. And it's just so weird to think that there's people wanting to hear us on a weekly basis talk. Like that's one of the weirdest things, but I very much appreciate it, and I don't take anything for granted. But the conscious experience is here to stay, and a lot of people, think, and like they get confused that ambition is, cockiness or whatever. But we're literally going to be one of the biggest platforms in the world, and that's a good thing because we're a positive platform. We're promoting positivity. We're promoting, you know, great conversations everywhere. Any type of conversation we're willing to have, and yeah. So the Joe Rogans, be ready. We're gonna be on your show, and then we're gonna have you on. We're gonna have Elon Musk. We're gonna have Jay Prince. Everybody, man.
Yes, I love it. I feel like my show, I always have people, and they're always basically just saying all the things that they're gonna do, and I'm always like, yeah, say it right here. So when you reach your goals and you're looking back, I can be like, yep, I was there, I was in line, I was listening, like I was part of the team early, like just because I just feel like in the world of content creating, like we're, like you said, like we talked about before the interview even started, like we're in this wave, we're in this moment of technology and things are happening. So it's really good to be ahead of the wave and be riding it rather than be trying to like, you know, get on top or surf it or whatever analogy I'm trying to make. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being on my show. I normally leave like the last 5 minutes for you to do your plugs, your shout outs, say what you want to say. But yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And just to end it off on the plugs, follow us on Instagram at the Conscious Experience __. And we're going to soon join Clubhouse. That is the next wave. We're going to get on that. Me and Brian are building our profile on there, and we're going to start our own club again called the Conscious Experience. And so be aware of that. And yeah, I believe that's it. Yeah, T Nezzy. I think T Nezzy 47 on Instagram too. That's my personal page.
Yeah. Shoot, my personal page is Brian_Lap 8. And yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you guys go and have a great night.
Thank you so much.
Bye.